work also among migrant children to their problematic of they have another tongue, let's say Syrian, Lebanese, Afghan, whatever, and then they have to face this bilingual land who is Ireland. So please give us some insights of your experience with this.
Yes, so some of your examples come from probably secondary school. I work mostly with primary schools, and the majority language that all children speak very well is English, and Irish is taught in the majority of schools as a language, like in the rest of Europe we learn English or another foreign language. So, and also there are immersion schools, so the schools where children are taught through the medium of Irish. Migrant children are in all of these schools, but there obviously there would be more schools that teach through English, and these are the kind of schools that I've been working in. And what some of the programs I've been involved in were language awareness programs, where every child is asked to give their own input. So for example, we do lots of activities that involve talking about how it feels when you don't understand others. So we use language as a medium to understand tolerance, as a medium to become more tolerant, and to ask each other questions that concern language use. The program got the name Language Explorers because I always started from the assumption that children are always very inquisitive. And with language, sometimes we don't have a straight answer. Sometimes it's like maths because there's a lot of logical stuff in language, but sometimes language also has the beauty that it's a little bit like art, like we said before. So you can make mistakes and you can joke about things in language, especially in primary school. I think children, when they become aware of how language works, they become aware of how you can play with words, how you can play with language. And suddenly, everybody's at the same level. So the Language Explorer or any language awareness program would have the goal not to raise multilingual and very proficient children, but children who develop an interest in language at an early age, which then makes them ready to be exposed to other languages. So we listen to the radio in Finnish, and nobody in the class knows Finnish. So everybody's at the same level, but everybody will start to guess. What could this be? I put on the radio in Russian, and because Polish is the most widely spoken language in Dublin, everybody said, I know this, it's Polish. I said, you know, guys, you're really good, because we're quite close. And I put on Italian, and everybody thought it was Spanish. So nobody taught them Spanish or Polish, but children are aware of sounds, and they are aware of how similar and different languages are. So the idea of this, obviously, is also to have migrant children who may be speaking languages at home, may be comfortable speaking them, may be not very comfortable with their dual identity or multiple identity, linguistic identity, to find a space that usually isn't fostered in the classroom, because there's so much space in a day for teachers. And there's, I think, in a way, a fear that if you, as a teacher, don't speak Polish, how can you make a child use Polish in class and you don't know what's going on? Or why would you allow two children to speak Russian to one another and then you're excluded and everyone else is excluded? So by doing language awareness, you are allowing children to express themselves in the way they feel they want to, in specific times of the day, through specific activities. So this definitely has an impact on the children, but also from the point of view of having an interest in the Irish language. Because there would be a child saying, well, my mom is Italian, you know, I speak Italian at home, and my dad speaks Portuguese, and that's what we do at home. And the child who has no language, which there's no child like that in the majority of class, everybody has one at least, and they have Irish. So suddenly the children become really proud of the little or big or amount of Irish that they have. And that becomes a discovery, and that becomes a language explorers, you know, where you just really become driven to wanting to discover something, looking at labels on clothes, or, you know, how do you say this in Italian? They ask
songs
on
the radio.
And songs, everything becomes a language exploration. And the parents have said, the teachers have been very positive about it, but also the parents have said, now the children are looking at the world in a totally different way. Because we look at bilingual signs, which are everywhere. In Ireland, there's bilingual signs all over, but children probably don't notice them if they're not pointed at. And suddenly after this, children started to look at signage on shops, bilingual signs, labels on their clothes, on the food, in a new way, even though these were objects that they were looking at every day.
Thank you so much, Francesca. I think it's really about raising awareness. Just to give you another example, what you're saying, you talk about, of course, of here primary school principally. I mean, this is always fun and games and etc. But for example, my daughter goes to the European school in Strasbourg, and this is a trilingual school itself, and they have something I think every school should have. They have Heure Européenne, the European hour. It's one or twice a week. Unfortunately, by the way, it's only for the smaller ones also. It's not for the grown-ups because they are already they are swimming in a linguistical bath every day. But this is wonderful. It's a day where you learn, I don't know, if there's the Dutch National Day, you all together learn to sing the national anthem, for example, or you listen to some languages you never heard because we have so many in the class. And this makes exactly the same result you say. It's a kind of awareness, a kind of curiosity, play with the languages. This, I think, could be an initiative also for your program. But Michael, I wanted to ask you one specific question. You're also in charge of Erasmus Plus.